that I ought to perhaps follow up that contribution with a bit of a mea culpa, because if anyone was supposed to put finance companies that failed in 2006, 2007 and 2008 into statutory management, it was me. And so I think my colleague was inadvertently criticising the former Minister of Commerce, and so I thought that it was important that I stand up and reclaim my integrity in this matter. And to simply state for the record, which has been stated by the Minister with respect to the Hubbard case, and I don't think it is appropriate for us to debate that matter in its stage at this moment. But I think that the real issue in that regard is that for statutory management to occur, that the only way the Minister of Commerce can put a company into statutory management is on the recommendation of the Securities Commission. So there is no right in law for the Minister to operate in isolation of that recommendation, and once they make that recommendation, there is a requirement really on the Minister to act on that recommendation. So and that is the appropriate way, and my colleagues assisting from the side here. It is the appropriate course of action. Oh, he's always right, of course. Always assisting, no. But the point that I'm making is that the reason that we have to have that this way is that the investigative powers of the Securities Commission have really got to be called into play in order to provide a minister with the advice that is required to place a company into statutory management. Now, there are a range of different processes that need to be put into place or can be put into place in relation to a company that is failing, and so statutory management is the most extreme of those. There are also, of course, receiverships, and there have been the development of this model of moratoria, and it's the moratoria that have deeply concerned me, and I know that members of the committee share this concern, and I note also John Boscawen from the ACT Party has particularly raised concerns in this regard. And I think that one of the problems that we have in dealing with this legislation in isolation from what is going to come next is that we've got the amalgamation of the regulatory functions of the Securities Commission with the Companies Office, and I think some aspects of the Reserve Bank, Stock Exchange here, coming into the new FSA, but the new regulator that the government's proceeding with, and I'm supportive of that. I think it's a very good move. But that has meant another delay in the release of one of the most important discussion documents that we're waiting for, and that is the review of the Securities Act. And I think that piece of work will bring the whole lot together, and this is an important component of it. And I think what people forget, and I know that we chip each other across the House, what people forget is that the review of financial products and providers was 9 documents that followed on from the task force on financial intermediaries. So the financial intermediaries document was actually consulted on when I wasn't the Minister of Commerce. It was consulted on in 2005, and then in 2005, at the end of 2005, I picked up the portfolio, and I think one of the first cabinet papers that I took through cabinet was actually the results of the task force report on the review of financial intermediaries, and that's when the beginning of the process on financial advisors really occurred, and in terms of the legislative timetable, and then the review of financial products and providers with 9 documents covering that myriad of different components of what makes up our financial sector, was a considerable amount of work. And I think if we'd gone straight to regulation in 2006, we would have been rightly criticised for not doing sufficient consultation with those affected. So I'm not shying away from the fact that we would have all liked to have seen things pan out differently. And I must admit, as a Minister of Commerce, there were many sleepless nights. There were many nights when I woke up in the morning wondering what the lead item... was going to be on morning reports.
Charles Chauvel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.